About a week ago, at the beginning of February 2026, I was in London teaching and was lucky enough to be included in an incredible panel of operators for the BSC Expo panel about operating. So they were kind enough to allow me to put it out on the podcast. Just a great group of operators and DPs, I should say, actually, with a lot of great information. So I want to thank the BSC for involving me. And without further ado, here you go. Thanks for listening.
Liven it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, marker. Hey, mark.
And camera set. And action.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to panel 2. My name's Ed Moore BSC. Welcome to the panel on operating. It's very lovely to have such a good audience. Just to give us a sense, like if you're an operator, put your hand up. Some operators here, hopefully. Very good. Film students, put your hands up. Really good. DPs who use too much haze. DPs. There we go. This is my people. Very good. Well, we've got a fantastic panel here today. I'll do some very brief intros, trying to get through it, but in no particular order. We've got Colin MacDonnell, who's an operator, originally from LA, he's now in London. His credits include Neuromancer with me, Captain America, Brave New World, Blackbird. Who can forget his work as the key grip on the 2013 short film Lucid 8? Yeah. Katie Swain is the cinematographer. Her recent credits include second unit work, Masters of the Universe, Avengers Doomsday, Wake Up Dead Man, Gladiator 2, Doctor Strange. Of course, he was the focus pillar on one episode of Taggart in 1990. Danny Bishop, a multi-award winning operator. His credits include The Acolyte, Star Wars, All Quiet on the Western Front, Ballad of the Small Player, Tar, Patrick Melrose, Your Honour, and of course he was the Jimmy Jib operator on 2006's Streetball Extreme Battle for Europe.
True story.
I tried to find a clip. Zoe Goodwin Stewart is an operator, also the president of the Association of Camera Operators. She's joined us from just having wrapped the latest Narnia film. Her credits include The War Between the Land and the Sea, the franchise The Acolyte with Danny Wonka. If you go really far down her CV, very far down, I've noticed there are 374 episodes of Doctors.
Yeah.
Which deserves an award.
Yeah.
And finally, Dave Chameides in the middle is hard to start with Dave. I don't know where to start. I will start with 1993's Psycho Cop Returns. I can't believe he came back. 1994 Leprechaun 2, Carnosaur 2. I want stories from all of these. But of course, you may be aware it's won Emmys for work that includes ER, The West Wing, From Dusk Till Dawn, Donnie Darko, Ozark, Manhattan, Ghostbusters. Dave's CV is truly ridiculous. So that's our panel. Just to get us going as an experiment, operators, what percentage, and I'm going to go back down from 100, what percentage of your job is physically operating a camera, pointing it where it needs to be? Is it 100? 90, put your hand up when we get there, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, starting to get 20, 10, 10. Okay. So what on earth are you doing for the rest of the time, guys? What's going on? Zoe, what's happening in the rest of that time?
Negotiation a lot of the time, and filtering information. I think your role, I think we'd all agree as well as with you cinematographers, that we get our information from our cinematographer and from our director, whether it be the blocking or whether it be the tone or the feel of the show, and then we take that information and try and create what they're looking for. And that might mean that, yes, it involves operating the camera, for sure, but also it means navigating our department, your grip team, your own team, your focus puller, passing on that information, and then, filtering it through in a calm, stress-free way, and then also nailing the shot at the end of all that.
Is that how it feels to you, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you've said it all, really. That's exactly what it is. I just like to give myself as much time to rehearse. That's my key thing. Everything that Zoe said, and then I try and do it all as calmly and as quickly as possible, and just give myself as many rehearsals with the grip, and just to try and get the shot ready before the grown-ups look at it.
So when you guys are coming in, Colin and Dave, where does the operator start and the DP finish? How is the information getting to you? What happens between a crew show, say, and actually a camera being pointed at stuff?
Well, there are DPs in the audience, so I'm a little hesitant to answer the question, honestly. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it ever completely stops. There's back and forth all the time, and I don't know that it's a question that I can answer because every situation is different with every DP. But the thing that, as an operator, from the moment that I get into prep to the moment that we're shooting, I'm constantly assessing everybody at all times to figure out who I can count on, who I need to watch, who's going to help me, who's not, what the DP wants, what the actors want, what the actors need. I mean, that's actually, I think, what most of my time is spent doing. And so as a result, there's some DPs who, Jeff Greeley is a great DP I work with, and we came up together as operators. So he'll come in and be like, he comes in over here, he sits down over there, make it better, I'm going to go light. And then we don't generally talk about it again. And then there are other DPs who are very specific, and I think it's just a different job with each. And my job is to be a chameleon and fit into what they need me to be, which isn't always fun, but that's what you do, I think. Colin?
Yeah, I've the thing that I've found about the job so far is that I think the job is filling in the blanks a lot. A lot of, whether it's sometimes the director is an actor's director and they don't really have a huge interest, or not interest, but they know that the DP and the operators and the dollar groups can probably figure it out better than they can. So they just say, I want the actors to do this, you guys shoot it well. Sometimes they're extremely prescriptive. Sometimes the DP is prescriptive. Sometimes the DP is not prescriptive. Sometimes it's like, here, you saw the crew show. A lot of times, if you've been working together for a while, they'll look at you and go, and then they'll walk away.
Yeah.
No, you got it. Go ahead. And other people are like, this lens right here, this height, 41 inches off the ground, push in 3 feet, don't go past here.
And which one do you prefer?
It's tough, actually. I do like the prescriptive because they can give you 80% of the shot or they can give you 98% of the shot, but there's still something left to fill in. You can, if they say do a push-in, how do you want to do a push-in? Maybe you and the dolly grip can figure out a little speed change in the middle when the actor's look changed or something like that. You can do these kind of things. You're not disobeying anyone or doing anything outside of what you were prescribed, but you're just you're finishing off that last few percentages points of the shot, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And it's fun to get to visualize the shot from the beginning to the end, but it's also fun to not have to do that and only worry about perfectly nailing that stand up or perfectly nailing that push in or, getting the shot millimeter perfect. So both can be very satisfying.
One of the reasons that I really wanted to do a panel with you guys is that certainly I think probably most DPs have this experience, but most DPs start having to hold your own camera because there's no choice. And certainly a lot of in the UK that's still really common. Like I still get asked to run a camera and then I have to explain why this role is so important. And it certainly my eyes were opened as I was lucky enough to work with operators like you guys. I don't think it was obvious. It's not obvious to a newer DP exactly how much better everything can be when you have someone dedicated to that role. And it's not just about having the time to light. It's having this sort of representative of the whole team, isn't it? That's kind of driving the floor forwards. Yeah. How does it feel sort of working with the not just the camera team, but presumably you guys are talking to basically every department?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key thing is that you speak to everybody. And I borrow this from Rachel Clark. I was doing a teaching thing with her a couple of years ago, and she said a good operator buys the DOP time, and it's really stuck with me because I think when I work with a DOP, ever since she said that, that's what I think to myself is I'm buying them time to light. And obviously DOPs love to light and take their time and make it look good, and that's obviously an integral part of any production. And I think it's just such a nice way of looking at it because the DOP doesn't want to be worrying about are the easy ups going to be in the shot in 3 shots time. Mm-hmm. And so I'll go over and I'll say to the AD, hey, in 3 shots time, all of that's going to be a vision. So why don't we just start moving it now so that we're not moving when we come to it? And it's like, I think it's just such a nice way to look at it that you buy them time.
Yeah.
And if it works well, the DOP and an operator, it really does work like that. And you can have a conversation like Dave said, and then the DOP can go off, and then you can kind of run the floor and get it working.
I really found that when I didn't know any better, and I still don't in many aspects, but I would, if you're a DP that's operating, you jump on the dolly 2 minutes before the take, and then you just blow 3 takes because you weren't thinking about anything. Whereas, like, Zoe, what are you doing for that 10 minutes before the take? You can save take 1, right? Take 1 is great. You're going to get that performance.
A lot of times you don't get rehearsals anymore. So you're trying to nail it.
We cancelled rehearsals.
Cancel rehearsals. But you end up sometimes shooting the rehearsal, so you have to get it right. Especially something like Narnia, we were on 35mm. You don't want to be cocking that up. So you're not only buying your DP cinematographer time, you're buying yourself time, and the workarounds that you can make happen by seeing those things. We were talking about this the other day. It's almost a bit like A Beautiful Mind or Minority Report. You're pulling all these bits in, you see the block through, you can see in a way you can envision how that's going to be cut together, what shots are important, what shots are needed, but then also, like Danny says, you're navigating all the rest of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really integral to give yourself the time to be able to go, right, okay, I know if that crane base, as lovely as grips are, I'm not saying it, sometimes it would be easier if the crane base just moved. I don't need to bother my DP with that. I don't need to bother. I'll go and say the first. I'm going to say, look, this isn't going to work. We're going to keep going. Let's just move it, and I can nail it the first time, or try my best. At least by the second one, we'll have it. So that can all happen, and unbeknownst to the cinematographer, unbeknownst to anyone else, and that saves not only you looking like a bit of a tool, but also it will save the shot and save the production time and everyone else. And that's what you're trying to do all the time, and that communication between you and all of those departments, whether it be sound or whoever, those sound mats are going to be in on that shot. All of that stuff is on us to take away from the cinematographer and then get the shot.
If the seems to be a real, with experienced crew, less experienced crew, if there's one thing that makes a difference, it's that sort of active looking ahead, isn't it? It's like in the very brief time where I was getting hired to do operating work, I remember just being yelled at by the directors doing B-cam on like continuing drama, where like they'd give me a shot and then like an actor would just block the frame for half of it, and they were like, I was like, oh yeah, well, someone stood up, yeah, sorry, your shot doesn't work, does it? It's your fault. And they're like, what are you doing? Like it's that sort of proactive thing of solving the problems. I mean, Katie, we both operated and then sort of moved into lighting. What was that like for you, sort of starting to be able to just have dedicated operators? What does it mean to have that role alongside you?
I think I work a lot with stunt coordinators, so often it's working with more than one camera. Mm-hmm. And I think, the role of the operator it's like a dance. You're creating this synergy between stunt people and the camera. And I think for me, it was, having the opportunity to sort of step away from trying to do that myself and have these, amazing, my right arm, to come and to help with that. And I think it's very much a kind of, it's time management. You've got, certainly when you're shooting with multiple cameras, it's getting the best out of those stunts and things like that you can get exactly where to position the camera so that you don't have to do it more than once, because often repeats are very expensive. If you're blowing something up, if you're firing someone at a wall, you don't want to make them do it more than once. And so, that's a kind of, that's where operators really come in. Their expertise really comes in, is knowing exactly where the camera should be at what moment.
And in your experiences there, what are you looking for if you have to choose an operator and none of your regular team are available? Are there qualities that you're looking for? Like what's that relationship like sort of personally on set? How do they fit into, it's a question for all of us really, because we end up with this sort of love triangle of DP, director, operator, and that can, when that works well, it's fantastic, but like it can be challenging. How does that work on the kind of huge second units? Because presumably there's you it's a love square for you, because you also have the main unit feeding in and about how they want stuff to look as well.
I mean, ultimately, you want to be with people you want to spend the day with.
Yeah.
It's really important. We all have these sort of. We manage to come together very quickly, work very intensively, go home at the end of the day, and we get on. Whether we want to go out for a beer with each other at the end of the day is another thing. But at the end of the day, you want to actually have empathy with the people that you're working with. You want to enjoy their company. You appreciate them, from a professional perspective, but you really want to get on with people. I think it's very difficult if you're thrown into, if you're being given people that you don't have a chance to communicate with beforehand. I think that can be tricky. I mean, we do it, we get on with it, but we want a nice time at work, don't we?
Yeah. Danny, you've obviously done a huge amount with the wonderful James Friend. Like, what is it about that duo, do you think, that has clicked so well for you both?
I think that obviously it's we've had a really good relationship. I think it's just that we basically started together. We cut our teeth in low budget films, like straight to DVD movies with Danny Dyer and stuff like that, and we went off on all these films and we were basically learning our mistakes together and creating a shorthand. Obviously, when I work with him, it's very different to if I work with, like I've just worked with Claudio, and it's like instantly it's a different relationship, because with James I don't ask him anything. Like I go onto the set and I know what my role is, and so it's been great working with him. Obviously it comes with its own problems because it's over familiar sometimes with each other, but it's nice to go and work. I like working with different DOPs. It's nice to be out of that comfort zone and go in and get pushed in a different direction, because I find if you work together a lot, it's like you push yourselves in the same direction. It's nice to go with different directors and different DOPs and be like, I never thought of doing it like that.
I think the onus is on us as well as operators. Like, the cinematographer and the director have their vision. They've been in prep, they've been in conversations for months and months and months before we're even onboarded as operators sometimes. And I think if that triangle isn't working, the onus is, for me personally anyway, the onus is on me to make that work. If I might not necessarily like a certain way that someone wants to frame it, but if that's the role that I'm doing and that's what is required, my ego, there can't be an ego really with an operator with what you can make the frame as beautiful and course correct everything that you think is right, but ultimately as an operator you are facilitating the vision of the DOP and of the director and the whole project as a whole, really, especially if you're going into doing something that is the second series of something and they have a certain look or whatever. You stick to that look. Whether I'm coming in and Danny did the first series and I'm doing the second series, I could put a little spin on it, but if they have a certain look, that's your role, and your role is to communicate that and show that through your operating as well as you possibly can. But it's their vision, really, and you're facilitating that, I think.
How do you, Dave, you've done, amongst many things, tons of episodic TV, and you have directors are changing on you constantly, and there's a sense in which you're the figure that the cast know, like you're on stage with Anthony Daniels at the Emmys. You have that relationship with the cast. Like, how do you balance that? Like, what happens if you have a DP coming in that feels like they're taking it in a way that is maybe not the show?
A DP or a director?
Well, I guess both. Yeah, I guess.
Well, usually the DPs on those shows are, they're already in they're going back and forth. But with the director, and there have been shows when I've been on where they have come in and done that. Actually, I'm going to segue a little bit, but answer the question, because I was thinking about this, and and this may sound strange and maybe egotistical, but I actually sort of view my job as being a protector, and it's protecting everyone who surrounds me. And so one of the reasons why I think having an operator is so important is because I could have a DP who's a better operator than me, but they can't sit on that camera the whole time. They have to go back to the DIT tent, and they have to go talk with the production designer, and they have to have lunch with wardrobe and all this stuff. Whereas I sit on that camera and I'm 4 feet away from the actors all the time. And so I will instantly, and this is I feel one of my jobs, very quickly try to figure out what do they need, what they don't need, how do I keep things away from them, how do I bring things in. And I can see when they're having a bad day, I can see where they're having a good day. And I think that is an unbelievably important part of my job. And I have specific ways of very quickly figuring out what they need, and hopefully I'm right, but sometimes I'm wrong. But then also, and nothing against anybody, but the gaffer wants to bring the lights in there, and I'm there protecting the DP's frame, saying, no, I know it needs to be in, but I'm going to see that. And the boom operator and it's all these things where all those people have their piece of the pie and they're making sure their piece of the pie is perfect, but I have to make all those pieces of the pie work at some point. So out of protecting myself, I'm making sure that they get what they want. So on the same level, when a director comes in and starts doing something that either doesn't work for the actors or doesn't work for the show, I'll try to steer it a little bit if I can. And if I can't, maybe then I'll go to the DP and say, what do we do? Like, what should we do? And if they're on some shows that I've been on where I've been very involved, I've actually gone up to the executive producers and said, I think you should just come down to set because we have a problem and it's your problem. It's not my problem, but I don't want it to happen because the actors are getting angry because, or whatever it is. But I think there's an incredible amount of just protecting there. And I view a big part of my job as being there. I have to support the director, I have to support the DP, but I think one of my biggest things is that I support the actors. And there are very specific times when I've put my neck out there and taken the heat so that they could get what they need or whatever, because at the end of the day, I can screw up a frame, but if their performance is phenomenal, it's going to work. But if their performance isn't there, there's nothing that I can do.
So they'll flub a line, you'll just crash into a wall.
No, but I mean, just very quickly, we just got off of a show with a young actor who either you're going to hear everything from or you're never going to hear from again. I don't know which one it's going to be because he's doing something very interesting. But there's a lot of things going on, and he always wanted to do his coverage last. And that got into problems because we would run out of time. And one of the biggest scenes, I said ahead of time, we're going to get into a thing where he's going to get cut off. No. And of course, the producer came in and said, you guys have 15 minutes to get all this coverage. And he flipped out. And I said, look, we're going to do it on Steadicam. We'll get all the pieces. And I went up to him and I said, look, I'm just going to keep on messing up if you're okay with that, because they're not going to stop me rolling. And we're digital, so we could roll for 2 hours. And he goes, what? And I said, do as much of the scene, and then I'm going to knock the rig. Or we're just going to keep on resetting, and they won't step in. And we did that for like 25 minutes. Yeah. and I kind of looked at him and I said, you okay? Yeah. And he did one more, and then I said, great, we finally got it. And by then, everybody knew what was going on. But,
Did you get fired?
It was almost the last day of the show, so I did okay. No, but I think the producer was actually very unhappy with me, but everybody else was like, we know exactly what was happening here, because there's no way just walking back he's hitting the rig 3 times in a row, But they knew what was happening.
Especially not you.
That's exactly. You haven't seen my operating on set line. But I think that's an extreme case, but and he was so thankful for that that's what
you're kind of being therapists as well as diplomats.
No, if you want to be a good operator, take a psychology course. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you.
And then the other part of the pulse, I think, is there's a heart-stopping moment when you start shooting drama, when you realise that sometimes you do a crew show with like 65 actors running around doing different things, and then the director's like, I don't know, what do you think the shot should be? And you have to sort of solve, and it's partly the DP. Ideally, the director has an idea what the shots are, but they often don't. And how have you developed the ability to sort of just like sort of holographically understand all of those people, or you're sort of imagining where your frame is going to move around, and you're also kind of solving for how long you've got, which actor is going to want to go first. How long does it take to build up that kind of experience?
Still doing it.
Yeah. When it happens.
374 episodes of Doctors, probably.
Yeah.
It's like we were saying about like becoming a master of your craft. It's time. There's no quick fix to that. I don't think. I think that's just hours on the floor.
Chess grandmasters aren't grandmasters because they have some goodwill hunting ability with chess. It's just because they've seen a lot of chess games before. Mm-hmm. They see how things unfold, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but there's some quadrillion, quintillion possible iterations of a chess game. You're never going to play the same one twice, but they do look similar. Mm-hmm. And you can see certain patterns, certain movements and stuff. And the more time you spend on set, the more patterns you'll recognize. I mean, I think a lot of the job is standing 6 feet away from the director and the DP and quietly turning around to your dolly grip and going, bring the offset, bring the lambda head, bring the this, bring the that. And you might not use it, but I think seeing into the future and thinking, even if the DP says, oh no, the dolly's in a great configuration, it's totally within your right to turn around and go, well, go bring the offset in the low mode. Mm-hmm. Don't put it on, because then you're just, you're disobeying something. But if, the amount of times I've seen the DP walk up from the monitor, hand in hair, go, we should be lower, shouldn't we? And I go, and turn around, and it's ready to go. 30 seconds.
If it's already at the bottom of the dolly arm, it's 100% too high.
That's,
right?
Yeah, that's
never the right height.
If you take one lesson from this entire seminar, if it's already at the bottom, it's too high.
Yeah.
And also, you'll always be at the end of the slider. Wherever you put the slider.
Exactly, yeah.
Wherever you put the slider, it doesn't matter where you are, you always end up.
It's a lot easier to remove dolly track than it is to put it down. Just remember that.
For you.
You're just at the end of the slider.
You've done so many projects. I could get you to talk about them all for hours. I wanted to ask Zoe and Danny just about Star Wars. Recently, that sounded like a really interesting one. Like, how does something like that compare to the kind of BBC ITV dramas we were all doing not so long ago when we were both doing Casualty, things like that? What's the same and what's completely different?
I mean, obviously the size is just staggering. It's like every day you go to work and you walk on the set and you're like, wow. Yeah. Like it's still mind blowing every day. I mean, it's the same, but it's just bigger. The problems are exactly identical. But they're just bigger. Everything's 10 times.
There's still not enough time.
There's still not enough time. You're still having ridiculous conversations, and you're just like, it's exactly the same, isn't it?
It is the same. I guess the one thing for me that was my first real big foray into like previs.
Yeah.
I think, and that as another determining factor. So you're not just it's not just the director's vision; it's also the VFX. Your VFX team are going, well, you're matching this. And they've basically completely made the movie already, or the TV show already, but it's like a digital version. Oh, I'd probably watch this. But you're having to replicate that in a way that will work for them. And that was another angle that I hadn't really done very much of before. So that was quite interesting. If I had to go off, like me and Danny, I mean, these sets were wildly huge, but Danny be at one end and then we'd hot swap to me at the other end to speed things up. And, you're just watching this sort of previous going, right, okay, well, I think that's there. But you can still finesse that and sort of change it. But it's another voice that you've got. You've got the DP, your director, and your VFX supervisor. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to navigate another remit, really, on a show like that.
Does it feel like a challenge I can imagine when you've got 7 cranes on the show, the temptation to always be using the kind of big toys is. So do you find you have to stop yourself sometimes, be like, guys, we just need like a cine saddle. Like, I'm really never. Or can you not say cine saddle?
No, I think I'm definitely like whatever is the right tool, whatever is the right thing for that shot. And personally, I prefer to be on the camera. So if I can, I try to come off the crane. Sometimes it's just not possible, but I prefer to be one-on-one with the actor and have that relationship and be like 5 foot away. I find it infuriating being offset. Yeah. My tech that I just had on Star Wars, I don't think he could believe it, because every time I moved the crane, I would move the wheels, and he'd be like, "What, you're moving them again?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I want to be by the camera." So I always take the wheels on the monitor 90 degrees to the camera and as close to the actor as I can be. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that he could believe that I moved them every time. But it's just like, I think
that's your job, moving the wheels.
That's exactly.
On that note, can I ask you a question? Because I don't know if this happens here, but in the United States, I'm the same way. It's like, I want to be right next to the camera. Yeah. But in the United States, like, we'll be outside and they'll put it in, and the grips will come and like whack me all the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like batting them away.
Yeah,
they're like, why? Like, I don't care, the sun's in my eyes. I got to see what's going on.
You got to see the camera.
Yeah. You get like a 4x4 tent put over you. You're like, no, I can't see anything. Well, sometimes you end up in this weird situation where there's some communication breakdown somewhere. I was on a shoot, and the A camera operator had to be in the tent with basically in the DIT tent, and the DIT tent was connected to the director's tent. So the operator's just in this room in a black box, nowhere near. And I'm quite glad I'm B camera, and I'm in amongst it with everyone else, because that idea of just being completely, that feels like you're just playing a computer game to me at that point. And you're not physically there or present, you're just watching it off a screen, which means actually you can't see why when you're asking your grit, can you go that way a bit, and he's like, I can't, because you're not there, you're not within the space, you can't see it as like you say, as a 4D piece, because you're not there. If you're just in a room, it becomes that's not, I don't know.
And also it goes back full circle to what we're saying about micromanaging the set. It's like, if you're not on the set, you can't do all those things where you're moving Video Village and you're moving catering and you're moving makeup and costume and the bins that are in shot, and
you also can't be 3 steps ahead.
Yeah,
because you don't see
can't
it.
be.
But even when I'm on a crane, assuming it's not all the way up in the air, I'll come and put my head in front of the lens, and I'm usually the DP is going, "Why can't I see that?" And I'm just like, "Just give me a minute, because I'll see things with my eyes that I won't see with the."
Yeah, I mean, it's never fails to amaze me how, like, a lot of sets now are like, no, well, I can't do anything until I see the picture on a monitor. Like, guys, just go and stand there.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
one eye.
Doing it for
I think
years.
putting your head, just getting your body and your head physically in the space the actors are moving around, and the line starts making more sense. The next few coverage shots start making more sense.
Yeah.
The wide to the tights make sense. Everything starts making sense when you really get up in there and just see what the space looks like and see the way they move, see where the shoulders are, see where they are. You can see the background with your eyeballs, all this stuff. The classic is always the art department wondering what's in shot, and I go, from there to there, and they go, well, how do you know? And I go, from there to there.
Yeah.
I promise you it's from there to there.
Or can you see their feet?
Yeah. You can see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Can you see that sound back? Yeah, you've mattered the entire set. I want to give the audience a chance to ask you guys loads of questions. I wanted to quickly ask how you feel about comms now. Like, a lot of the sets are very commsy. I love comms. Not necessarily everyone likes to hear my voice constantly during the shot. Is that a thing that is an impediment to good work? How does it fit into your?
If you're not eating during them, so you put them up when you're eating. That's great.
Okay.
I love hearing your little private conversations with the director when you leave the mic down. That's my
That happened one time. I know he came from LA. I know he was recommended. I think he'll be okay.
I'll say I'm vehemently against that.
Okay.
I work with them. I have to. There are people who do. But my thing to most directors of photography is, if you have to tell me something, it's too late.
Yeah.
And I haven't done my job. And the other thing is, so usually what I'll say with them is, would it be okay if I have them on when we're not rolling, and then the second that I'm rolling, I take them off?
Yeah.
And they're like, why? I'm not going to say anything. And I always go, well, then there's no reason for me to have them on, right? And then they sort of look at me, but I say to them, like, the reason I don't want that on is because I need to be in that moment. And there's nothing that, like, you need another operator if you have to tell me tilt it.
Yeah.
You need to be a quarter second.
Yeah. So,
You need to be 5-10 frames ahead of what's happening every time. If you're reacting to something, it's too late.
Yeah.
If the DP's on the comm saying dolly the other direction, shot's already probably not very good.
but just for anybody who's looking for an operator, I will work with them.
And like in American football, there's comms in the helmet, and the guy upstairs up in the booth who's calling the plays can talk to the quarterback
That's why
up
I
until the
was
moment the
saying-
ball snapped and the comms go dead.
Okay.
I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Once the play starts, you got to be quiet and react as things are happening. But up until that moment, I think it's completely very useful, especially because you're not shouting across set at each other. Nobody likes that.
I like to think I don't tell you, pan up, tilt left.
This is
etc.,
not all
but-
about you. There's other DPs in the world.
I'd love to get your questions whilst we have sort of 50 minutes. We've got an amazing panel of operators, amazing stories. We've got one in the middle. We'll get a mic to you, and I'm sure the rest of you can think of some fantastic questions. Or I'm going to ask Dave about Studio 60, my favourite show. Just in the middle there.
What part of prep do you do before filming begins, and what part of prep do you do each night before you go in the next day?
Good question.
I personally like to do a lot of prep. There can never be enough. I've been quite lucky, obviously, working with James, and on All Quiet, I did about 6 weeks prep. That's not always afforded to operators. So I've been quite lucky for that. Like that, he likes to have me on board. But when I'm actually shooting, if it's a tough day the next day, I'll go home after work, and I'll sit and map the whole day out if I can, and I'll go in the morning and hand people bits of paper. I see that as a real part of my job. A lot of prep. There's never enough prep.
I don't know if it happens here, but in the United States, we don't get prep. I get 1 day of prep for my gear, and it drives me nuts. And but
be more opposite.
No.
It's wild.
And I will say this, while I understand all the downside to that, clearly, because I'd love to have all that prep, I asked Tommy Shalami, who I did The West Wing with and ER with, and Manhattan, a huge, amazing director on the show Manhattan. I said, why can't I prep with you and the DP John Lindley? And he said, because I don't want you there. And I said, why? And he said, because John and I look at the script and talk about the script and look at the locations and decide how to shoot it. And I need you to come in with fresh eyes and see something that I can no longer see once the actors are in the space. So, and I was like, well, can you pay me for prep? And he was like, no. But it was the first time I went, oh, so there's a benefit to this, even though I think that there's, I'm losing something. And I think that there's something true to that. But as far as on the day, I read the script and I read the script and I read the script and I read the script, which unfortunately is sometimes harder than not. And then I'll look at the next days and I'll read every scene and I'll read the scene before and the scene after, so I know where I'm coming from and where I'm going to. And then when we get on the day, I'll read that scene and I'll remind myself where we're going from and going to. Because if you don't know what you're storytelling, you can't tell the story. It's just that simple.
It's interesting because I don't do that.
You don't?
No. I find, just because of the way my mind works, I find it so hard to read a script. And when I get sent a script to read, I have to sit down for I give myself a 3-hour window to sit and read it. I find it so hard to read a script.
So that just goes to show
but
you.
Then when I block a scene or I see the scene for the first time, it just instantly goes in. But trying to read it, I really struggle with that. But the moment I watch the first rehearsal with the director or whatever, it's the opposite way around for me.
Can I tell an anecdote about Danny?
Go for it.
This is an amazing operator right here. He won't tell you that, but that's just the way that it is. But I have a podcast called The Op, and we met at the SOC Awards, and I said, let me get you on it. And I interviewed him, and we were talking about All Quiet on the Western Front, and all of a sudden it hit me, and I went, wait, do you speak German? And he goes, no, I don't know any German. And I was like, how do you operate in another language? And he said, I just watched and I, occasionally I think you said you'd find a word that you had to do a cue on or whatever. But he said, I think you said they had the script in English for you, but you barely read it. And
it didn't make any sense.
But I say it because that to me is literally like pure visual storytelling. It was unbelievable. And you told me there was one shot where at the end they cut and the director was like, what is that? And James was like, that's Danny sobbing by the camera because he's so moved by what happened. And he didn't even understand the language. So that's what I aspire to be right there. But I have to read the script.
Any more questions from you guys? One here in front. We'll get a microphone to you for the benefit of those watching from home. There could be. ACO t-shirt. Big trouble.
Question. Any tips you have next week? I'm doing a 12-minute oneer, and I'm trying to memorize it. It's 7 characters, and it's also a different language. So, any tips?
Anyone here done a oneer?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I'll let him talk, but when I've heard him talk about his oneers the other day, last year, and we do approach everything very differently. So it's quite interesting because what he's going to tell you is very different to what I do. But
what am I going to tell him? I don't know what I'm going to tell him.
You're the king.
I can tell you what I do. So number one, are you talking about figuring it out before you get on set? So memorizing the dialogue or whatever, or the cues.
Basically, we did a shot in rehearsal with the iPhone.
Okay.
And now I just need to memorize.
Sure. I just watch that a lot. Learn the dialogue so you have. So is it handheld or is it Steadicam or gimbal or? It's handheld. Okay. So this may change a little bit of thing, but I with my oneers with Steadicams, by the time that I do the oneer, I have words written all over my arm. Because I look down in order and it reminds me when that word says I'm going to probably, I have to go this way. And I know what I'm doing, but occasionally I'll get lost because I get confused because I'm old. And so I have words all over my thing, but I very rarely will actually use them, but they're there so handheld, you could do that and open up your eye and see it. But most of it's in a visual place and just following the story.
Doing it in chunks is good too.
Yeah, break it up.
Doing it in 3-4 minute chunks or something like that. Especially if there's an easy transition or something like a doorway or something like that's very easy to memorize. When I come through this doorway, I know I'm lined up behind them. That's an easy thing to remember. So let's do everything up until that point and then take it from there. Easy to overlap.
There's one other thing I would offer, and this is me, but I think it's true. How many characters are in the oneer? 7. Okay, you got 7 characters. You got a 12-minute oneer. The first take is not going to work. You might get through it and it might work, but it's not going to be the take where the magic happens, because there's no magic. We're just good at our jobs, but it's not going to happen because you're not going to be as fluid as you're going to be on take 6 or 7, and they're not going to hit their stride until then. So if it was me, I would rehearse the whole thing without the camera and figure it all out and then start shooting, because the first 2 or 3 shots are going to be bogus anyway. Around 4, 5, 6, and 7 is where you're going to hit the really good stuff, and around 22 to 23, you're done. So you don't
that's not
want
a
to
joke.
waste,
That's not a joke
no, you
at
don't.
all. It's not
You don't want to waste though any energy on something that's never going to have a chance of going. So I always say, let's just go for it.
I think, and on that note, I think making it clear to the director and the DP, don't cut if it's not working.
Yeah.
Let us just get through it.
Let us get through it.
Let us do the whole thing.
And actually,
the first third is going to get really good, and the last 2 thirds is going to get really bad.
I'm sorry to monopolize, but because this may help you, something that I do when I do oneers is there's a big shot I did on West Wing where at the end of it you could walk up a ramp and be back at the beginning, so everybody went that way. And what I do is I walk backwards through the shot very slowly by myself, and because the thing is, as you're going, there's all the cues here and there's all the physical stuff here, and then as you're going, the stuff comes back here where it's like, oh, I should remember to do that, I should remember, but you forget that by the time you get to the end of a 12-minute oneer. So as you walk back through, you'll physically remind yourself, like, oh, I want to come around this corner wider to see that person back there, or something like that, and it'll sort of get you back to where you were at the beginning of the shot.
Probably have time for a couple more questions. This gentleman here. The microphone is on its way.
Was that what I was going to say?
Yeah, exactly. Microphone traveling like a colleague. Forward. Just the gentleman here.
That's the last one.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, thanks for a great talk so far. I do a lot of TV drama, so we have changing directors and director of photography, and I would be the continuity as the camera to be a camera operator. And I think, in general, this is a case, but I feel really well prepped for the first episode, and obviously while you start delivering an episode, block 2, at best I'll maybe go on the recce's, and I'll try to have as many conversations with the director and the DP as much as I can, but obviously I'm working full-time as well. Just wondering if any of you guys, it just feels like I'm not as well prepared no matter how hard I try. That's a shame.
If you think you're unprepared, imagine how the director and the DP feel. I feel like they probably think they're a lot more behind the ball than you are.
I think all you can do is glean as much knowledge as you possibly can, whatever those conversations may be. It might not be with the director and the DP. It might be with the script supervisor. It might be with the production designer. What have we got coming up? And yeah, we can't. A lot of the time, when you do that kind of episodic block by block television, you can't get on the recce's because you're shooting. And block 2 DOP and director come in and they're going on all of it, and you'll see them. They'll come to the set that you're filming in, right? And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we're going to film in here and go do it totally different." You're like, "Oh right, okay. Nice to meet you, by the way," and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the sooner you can get onto your, the UPM and get onto the production and say, oh, can I have the scripts for the next, even if they're not finished, you say, look, I just need to see something. And then at least you can have those conversations and make yourself heard a little bit, try and meet them after work if you can. And yeah, just knowledge is power. So the most you can glean off anyone, because the people that are on the job and have been prepping the job for longer than you will know more than you. Like locations, they'll know where they're shooting the next block, even if you might not. So you can work. There are workarounds for it to try and help yourself out. That would be mine.
Is it frustrating that knowledge doesn't automatically flow to you? Do you guys feel like you're sort of the last people to know, and then the person literally holding the can on the day?
Yeah, you find stuff out from grips quite a lot of the time, don't you?
Always.
The grips know everything.
Yeah.
Like actually, they'll know where you are in 4 weeks' time and what kit you're on and what's been booked. Like sometimes that's wild for me that they'll. And sometimes they're booked on the job before we are as well.
I think kind of to what Dave was saying earlier, I think there's something kind of nice in that you don't always have to have you two watch your expectations die constantly. Whereas sometimes we walk into a set and don't have any. We don't know what the shot was supposed to look like 6 weeks ago. We can just do the best job of what we're given in front of us. And I think with the fresh eyes thing you said earlier, I think it's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
You can't spend all day going like, oh, it's supposed to be a crane shot, now it's a freaking handheld shot. You just don't worry about that. Do the best shot you can with what you're given.
I think definitely the tension is maybe the wrong word, but like like all DPs, I want everything to exist entirely in backlight, and to a certain extent, and that sometimes you need someone who's like, it would be really good if we knew what the character was feeling, and to have someone just to have a sort of natural back and forth, so that you find something that is as beautiful as possible from a kind of compositional lighting point of view. But like, you guys also just have to be able to read the performances so well. Like, operators of this caliber, like, you're not telling, oh, it would be nice if you did a push in at this point. They know when to do a push in, like, because they're in the moment. So I think like having that balance is super lovely.
Can I ask you a question, the gentleman? Are the people you're working for happy with your work?
Yeah.
Then you're doing your job, because my feeling is always, I'd rather be unhappy and have them happy than me be happy and them be unhappy, because that's my job, is making them happy. And the reality is, I'm never happy. I've done 3 shots in my career that I think are good, and the rest I'd never want to see again.
Not true.
Danny thinks there are 4.
There are 4
shots.
shots.
3.
Yeah.
No, but really,
Can't leave
like,
that
driving home, sitting at a light is usually the moment where I go, oh, you got to be kidding me. I should have done it that way. Like, so you're not alone.
But I think everyone on set feels that to a certain extent. And I think we all... But it's always obvious when it's someone else. Like, we've all had the experience of focus pullers being like, oh, well, might as well just delete that. And you're like, that is just won that actor an Oscar, that performance. Yeah. And from the focus puller's point of view, there's like a 2-frame buzz. Yeah. But we all feel that. Everyone on set feels like they've abandoned and failed a shot at any given time. And it's only much later, most of all the director and the cast, I think. And it's only later when all these assembled random pieces are put together that you realise, hey, guess what? We kind of did know what we were doing. Yeah. Or we made something that wasn't what we expected we were making, but it's more than the sum of its parts.
Definitely, and we're all learning. We get to play every day. I try and remind myself of that. It's like, we're not saving lives, we're not in a hospital, we're not doing the hard stuff that people do every day and go home. We get to play every day. We get to create art and move people and make people laugh, and we have a laugh, hopefully, most of us on sets these days, with great people and a camaraderie and a family that you create over months. And we're always learning. So I'm never shy of asking someone for help, or what bit of kit do you think would work for this? Because I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything at all. None of us know everything. We're all learning and gleaning from everyone we work with, a new DOP, a new director, a new actor, whoever it is. And I think if you just keep chasing that addiction, I suppose, to learning and the craft of what you're doing, whether it be cinematography or operating, whatever you want to do, then I think that's the big takeaway for me. It's just the fun of it and the learning and the craft and the pushing yourself.
Make sure your dolly grip knows they can whisper stuff in your ear. Because a lot of times they'll come up with some really good stuff. Yeah. Because if you're looking at it from a different angle than the cinematographer and the director, they're also looking at it at a different angle from you. Yep. And I've gotten some of the best shots of my career because the dolly grip leaned up and went, "Hey, what if you do it like this?" And then you go, "Oh my God, that's good."
Was there a point and I'm slightly extending because I realised I was just aiming for a slightly different time than I thought we were finishing at. Was there a point for you guys where you felt like, okay, my initial learning phase is over, I feel like I'm confident? Was that 5 years? And we were talking about doing continuing drama. Like, that's an amazing learning ground. Is it like shots completed? Is it slates in your past that teaches an operator how to get that stuff behind you, like doing your scales for a musician, like just your kind of practice?
It's like you were saying, it's like the chess thing. It's hours. It's hours and hours and hours. And I came from a situation where I was very lucky. Like I said, those 374 whatever episodes of Doctors, self-focusing, tracking uphill and stuff like that. You would make things work and you would learn, and then you get to something slightly bigger that's a casualty that's heads around beds and 4 beds, and they're all coming in and they're all talking to each other, and we had 52 setups to do in a day, and the director just literally walked away and went, well, this is the blocking, brand new DP, never done a TV show before, and I'm just left. I went, give me 10 minutes and I'll try and work it out. Those kind of things push you, and they allow you as well to fail. And like you were saying about the horrors and stuff that you used to do, and I'm sure we've all done like smaller projects, that when we're first starting, there are safe spaces where you can fail and learn. Mm-hmm. Obviously we can't do that now on big features and stuff, but those failures teach you as much as how well you're doing and how much you think you know. Like, to mess something up is not a bad thing, because you'll learn from it, and you'll go, like you said, in the car at traffic lights, you'll go, oh, I should have done that. I know now. Right, okay, next time that comes up. Because it will. Those things will come up again.
And I think piggybacking off of that, one of the things that made a huge difference in my life was when I realized, like, oh, everybody screws up. And I'm going to screw up, and I'm going to survive it, sometimes better than others, and I'm going to come back and be stronger having learned from that. As like, I think everybody at the beginning thinks, like, I have to do everything perfectly, and it's like, nobody does that. We all screw up. I started on ER when I was 25 as the A-camera Steadicam operator. I was the only camera operator, and I was not ready for it. And there were people who picked me up, and end of my first week, I watched dailies, and to my horror, we came around a corner, and in some glass, there was the dolly and me and the boom operator and, craft service and everything else. And I went to the DP and I said, clearly I'm being fired, but here's some names of people. And he was like, huh? And I told him, and he goes, they'll cut around it. Nobody cares. It'll be fine. I was like, oh. And he goes, don't do it again. And I was, all right, well, fine. But things happen, and then you never do that again, hopefully.
I think I have a unique perspective of, I'm surely the youngest person here with the least experience, and I still feel every time I do a show, I feel like, okay, now I've got it. And then I go on the next show and I go, oh, I did not have it last show. I did not get it. I don't know if that ever stops. Maybe at some point it does. But
I get hired and I go, why are they hiring me?
I remember one of our first episodes of Neuromancer, which isn't out yet. Like, I think it was our first bit together for a while, and you just did like 6 beautiful slates in a row, and then on like the 7th one, you're like, I'm really sorry about this morning. I'm just like, I don't know what are you talking about? Just like really got into your own head about it. It's like, yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. That happens.
Do you guys feel like now you're all on these huge projects, but you've all come from 52 setups a day. Do you think we've lost the ability on these big productions to work at that speed? Why have these productions become so sort of glacial in their daily shooting?
I don't know.
It's bigger, isn't it? It's just bigger, more budget, more money.
It's just bigger, and they a lot more time. I mean, like with Ed, they're relatively small budget movies that have done well. But he will do a shot list, and it will be 17 shots, and you will do 17 shots. And I think then when you work on last year, I worked on 2 big films, and they just give it more time. And sometimes I stand there and think, you don't need all the people that are there. There's just a lot of money that goes into these productions, and you could probably get rid of quite a few people, but it's everything is a what if. It's like, what if we need that thing? So therefore we need the person there. And I think the bigger productions are always like, what if? Everything's got fail safes because every day is expensive. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, we need 2 cranes because we haven't got time to move the crane from there to there. So we'll just get 2 cranes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, there's always time.
Yeah.
But somebody goes, well, we just haven't got time.
Yeah.
I think
as well, like, if you come from those kind of shows that are fast paced, I mean, sadly, a lot of them are dying out in this country, which is it breaks my heart really, because it was where everyone came from, not just us, actors, writers, directors. It's really, really important to cut your teeth on those kind of continuing dramas and soaps and whatever you could get your hands on. Get on a job. If you can do any of them, you'll learn so much so quickly. They're not to be poo-pooed really, but you have a 5th gear, 6th gear, I think, when you come off shows like that. So when you are in the, I don't want to swear, but, in trouble on a shoot, and you've got that 6th gear, you can kick into and go, I know that I can get that shot in probably about an hour. And they'll look at you like, oh, you're mental. And it's not, because you just can work at that pace that you do have to draw on it sometimes. Not always, and you don't want to, because it doesn't need to be like that. But sometimes if you really have to, and it's hitting the fan, you can pull it out of your back pocket and get people out of trouble, which is a good thing.
We've got time, I reckon, for 2 more questions before you go and buy the really expensive sandwich. Got a gentleman there in the green. We'll get a mic to you there, sir. It's on its way. Flying in like an eye light that's too far away.
Chair, thank you very much. Do any of you have children, and if you do, how do you manage childcare and work and balancing?
I mean, it's a really difficult one. I mean, I've just been offered a massive job, and I would have been away for a year, and I've just turned it down because I don't want to be away from my kids, and it's like a part of the industry that isn't talked about very much, and it's a real struggle. It's not easy, and fortunately, I've had a wife that's helped me, and we've raised our kids together, and it's not easy. I went to New Orleans for nearly 9 months and didn't see my kids, and when I did All Quiet, I was away for 5. I think it's a part of the industry that is not really talked about, and the honest answer is it's not easy. And you just muddle through it and put in the time when you're not working, and I don't know. It's just not easy.
I think your spouse is the big part of it. Number one, they need to understand what your life is like, and number two, they need to be happy to take that up. But then the thing for me, my kids are older; they're 22 and 24 now. But number one, when I went on location, I would try to bring them occasionally and make something special out of it. And the other thing was when I was home, and it was like,
exactly.
I probably did more with them when I was home than the average father who has a 9 to 5 because I wanted to make up that time. And then the other thing is, and it's a poor substitute, but there's Zoom and there's whatever. So I just finished a job with, my buddy John Larson, and on weekends I'd go, hey, let's go do something, and he'd go, no, I've got 2 dates with my daughter who's like 8, and they play games online for like 3 hours straight, and that's how he fills it in. So I think you just have to be more cognizant of it.
Maybe one more question.
Thank you.
Hand right at the back just popped up really quickly.
Thank you for the session. I wanted to ask, as a person who's coming into the industry as quite young and not have much experience, when you all were starting out, what were the biggest challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I mean, obviously not knowing anyone, right? You come into the industry, I didn't know anyone. I think that's the daunting thing, is not knowing anyone and not having the experience. And how do you get the experience? And the honest answer is there's no easy way. I think like when I've done talks with Dave and Zoe, it's like you talk about your life on fast forward over 20 years, and it sounds like it happened really easy, but it didn't. And there are periods of time when you're not working. But the kind of parting shot I'd like to say is I always say to people, like, think of it like your friends will go and play football on Saturday for fun. My fun was cameras, and I would do short films and I would muck about with them, and it's like that was my sport. And I think if you approach it like that and put the time in, you've got to put the time in to have the camera flow with you, and that's just hours. And so when you start, just pick, and obviously now you've got these, and you can shoot short films on these really, really well, and I think it's just spending time understanding why things cut together. Why when I shoot the scene will it cut? Like, that's such an important thing to understand without even picking a camera up. And you can do all that now while you're learning to get into the industry, because that all has to be second nature. Like, when I'm on a job, I don't even think about that. It doesn't even come into my brain, why does this cut? I'm just doing it because that's my job. And that is the bit that you've really got to train. And that's without even picking a camera up, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I said, I keep saying the same thing, but just glean as much as you can. Get into a hire house. Go to them and say, "Oh, do you need a hand with everything?" Learn the kit. Know as much. Try and cram your brain full with as much knowledge as you can about how to edit is a huge thing. This whole thing is, it's just panning and tilting, but absolutely not. I mean, if you go away with anything, it's not. It's all the other stuff. It's also, communication. You're talking to people all the time, and you're not going to get anything out of anyone if you go in at 11 and you start screaming and shouting because you're stressed and you're not getting the things that you need. Everyone works better when everyone's in a nicer environment. You treat people the way you want to be treated, and actually people will work with you better, harder, and you'll all have a much more enjoyable experience. So just go with those things and learn as much as you can from as many people as you can. Don't be afraid to ask the silly questions, because they might be silly questions now, but in a year's time you'll be like, oh, I'm really glad I asked that.
I don't think you can fake confidence
Yeah.
Especially when you're younger. But the best thing you can do is make people comfortable with you. And I think just going around and shaking everyone's hand, introducing yourself, knowing everyone's name, because then you'll be standing next to somebody, you'll be standing next to the on-set dresser, and you can talk about a sports game or something and go, hey, why did you do that on this take? And then you'll learn these little pieces of information just because you're personable, just because you introduced yourself, getting to know other people and getting to know other people. And then they'll be comfortable with you. They'll come up and ask you to do something. Hey, Dave, are you interested in, would you mind running to the truck and grab, all of a sudden now you're part of the camera, something like that, just being personable, introducing yourself, gives other people confidence in you, gives someone a friendly face they can go back to.
100%.
We'll have to wrap it up there. These guys, on that note, would all love you to follow them around the trade show, ask them loads of questions, get networked, get their email addresses. DPs, hire operators, and operators, I love you. Thanks very much to our panel. We'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, Danny, take a picture. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.